Hi, Sarah again with Action Enforcer Pro, and we're going to start our quick start tutorial on how to get you up and running as fast as possible making use of the powerful Action Enforcer Pro software. At its core, there are two simple elements involved in using Action Enforcer Pro. Number one, actions. Two, timers. Actions. These are the things you want to accomplish, like check email or organize your office. You use timers to assign a specific time to accomplish each action, such as 30 minutes, an hour, 15 minutes, and so forth. Within Action Enforcer Pro, these two elements are brought together, allowing you to quickly create a set of timers from the actions you want to accomplish throughout the day. To help you understand this process better, let's plan a simple day of activities using Action Enforcer Pro. To begin, let's assume you have the following 4 things you want to get done today, and you've allotted a certain amount of time to accomplish each one. First is check and answer email. We want to allocate 30 minutes. Second, read news, 15 minutes. Work on a sales project, 120 minutes, and meet with a client, 45 minutes. Now let's use Action Enforcer Pro to plan these activities. Number one, you want to launch your copy of Action Enforcer Pro, and you're going to start Action Enforcer Pro like you would any other program on your computer. So in my instance, I'm using a Mac, and it's underneath my applications, Action Enforcer Pro, because we went through in the how to install that, and I showed you how to set up that subfolder for Action Enforcer Pro, copy over the setup app, and then we went in and renamed it to Action Enforcer Pro. If you haven't renamed it, it's still going to say setup.app. In any case, we are going to double click on the app that is associated with Action Enforcer Pro. And there we go. We now have opened up the application, and this is what it's going to look like. To give you an overview of what you're looking at, this is the 12 squares that represent the active timer group. And that means in this particular timer group, you could have 12 specific things that you want to accomplish and times associated with each one of those actions. Over here is a list of actions, and you have actually, this is what comes up by default, but you have 50 different lists that you could create and store and use at your disposal to really simplify things for you. And once you create it once, you can use it over and over again. Up here in the upper left-hand corner is where you're going to add actions to either the current timer group or down here to the active action list. So in other words, you have 2 different ways you can add actions, or 2 different potentials for what you want to do when you're adding an action. You might want to just have a one-off action that you won't repeat, that you don't want to reuse, and I'll show you how to do that. The second type of action is something that you might want to use right now, but you also want to store in one of your default lists. And we'll go over how to do each one of those right now. We want to identify where it says add to action, and there's going to be an input area where we can start adding the actions that we want to take for that day. Once we do that, they're going to appear over here, and I'll show you that in a second. The first action we wanted to take was that 30 minutes of checking and answering emails. So we're going to write 30, and that tells Action Enforcer Pro that you want to allocate 30 minutes, and then whatever you type in next to it is what you want to allocate 30 minutes to. If we would have written 45 minutes, it would tell Action Enforcer Pro you want to allocate 45 minutes to checking and answer email. Now you can either push this plus icon or hit enter, and it will add that activity, that action, to our timer group over here. Next, we will write read news. Now you notice I didn't put a number before that, and that's because I want to show you a second way that you can create a timer for an action. So we'll just go ahead and I'm going to push enter, and now you see it put that down here in our action list. It didn't assign a time to it, so it didn't activate it into our current timer group. So we're going to go ahead and assign a time by hovering over this read news action, and then we are going to select 45 minutes by dragging our cursor across this blue bar. Now that we have clicked the number of minutes that we want, it moves it over into our current timer group. We will go ahead and add the last 2 items. This was 120 minutes, so we'll go over here to 120. And then we'll go back to our first way of entering items, which is to do 45 minutes meet with client. Two more things to note about the process we just went through is that when we didn't allocate a specific time up front by entering that 30 minutes or 45 minutes before the action, it added it to our list down here, which these are items that we can reuse over and over again. So if you want to add an item to your action list that you can reuse again, the first time you use it, don't put a number in front of it, and it will add it down here. Another thing that I want to point out about the process of adding actions is that you can attach notes to specific actions, both those that are ongoing or that you can reuse and one-off actions. To edit an action that you've already created, you just click this little icon here and you can go in and create a note and attach that with that. So this might be steps that you need to do before meeting with that client, and then you just push OK, and that note is in there, and you can just roll your cursor over it and those notes will pop up. If you want to add notes as you're adding a new action, you would obviously just enter them down here as you are creating a new action. Let's quickly go over some of the important features to get you started quickly here. If you roll your mouse over the current time, you'll see that it changes to a yellow color and it gives you a different time. This actually gives you the estimated completion time if you were to work through all of your open tasks in order and use all of the allocated time. Over here, you'll notice that it gives you the total time that we have allocated down here. So that's how it's getting this completion time, is that it's adding the 4 hours and 29 minutes to the current time that we have now. Here you'll see the green bar, and this is green because it's less than 8 hours. As we start approaching 8 hours and going beyond, it changes from yellow to red to say you might want to rethink your productivity during the day and you might have stretched yourself a little thin. So the other thing is you have a break timer, meaning if you want to stop one of your timers, you can say you're taking a break and it automatically shuts down any active timers and puts them on pause. And then you can come back and just push reset and you're automatically on your way. You can move your timers around by swapping them out. So I just clicked on this little square here, an open square, and that lets you say I want to reorganize and swap those two out. And so that just helps you keep it in a linear fashion. Doesn't mean anything to Action Enforcer Pro, the order, but it might just help you from an organizational standpoint. You can create custom times by clicking this little slider here, and this is useful if it's less than an hour, as it gives you 1 minute up to 60 minutes. If you want to start a timer, you're going to click the little Action Enforcer Pro action button and it will start your timer. And you can push pause, you can reset, and you can also delete it. Once you push go, you're going to hear a ticking sound that is to keep you motivated, knowing that you are on the clock. You can adjust the volume by using this little slider here, and that will adjust both the notification and also the ticking sound. You can also turn the ticker off, which you can see how to do that in the user guide or one of our advanced tutorials. When you push go, here's the ticking sound, and then it's going to go off and you're going to see that big green check mark, and that means the item is complete. So the goal is to replace all the action buttons with big green check marks and complete each of your items in the allotted time or less. Now don't again underestimate the simplicity and the power of this. If you haven't gone through the exercise about how multitasking kills your productivity, then I really encourage you to do so, because it will open up your eyes to the power of focus, the power of planning your day, and the power of doing one thing and doing it really well. If you apply this, if you keep using it, I promise you will see results. Now, I personally like to keep the ticker sound going at a minimum level. I turn it down to where I can just hear it because it reminds me that I'm on the clock. It's up to you though. Some people that's distracting, some people like to have it louder. I do want to point out, if you have it at a minimum level, it also turns down the notification sounds, but we can have no ticking sound by clicking on this little volume icon, we can turn the ticking sound completely off and still leave the notifications on. But if you want some ticking, you need to have at least the volume at a minimum level in order to hear the notifications. You can link your tasks by clicking this little paper clip, and that means when one task is completed, the next one will automatically begin. You can also have two timers going off at the same time if you have two tasks that are interrelated and you need to allocate what you're doing now to do two different timer groups. Before we close out this quick start tutorial, I want to suggest that you start each day by doing a daily success routine and also planning your day. So if we go through here, review goals and to-dos, this is something you might want to do every single day, and we can just reorder these. You can also attach a priority by clicking up here, and the red means highest, yellow means medium, and if you click off to the left of it, it turns it off. It just means it's regular. So daily success routine, daily reviewing your goals and planning out your day. Highly recommend doing both of those on an every single day basis. That's the heart of getting things done, is knowing what you want to do, how much time you want to allocate to them. And then that's where Action Enforcer Pro takes over, because it helps you keep to your plan. It makes a fun game out of it. Try to beat your clock every single day. And that's the goal, is to go through each of your activities, to stay focused only on that activity once you start it. Get all green check marks in the time that you allotted or less. And I think if you apply this simple but extremely powerful principle using the Action Enforcer Pro software, you will see tremendous results like I have. I use this all the time and absolutely love it, and I hope you love it just as much as I do.